Something is wrong with sleep in a way no one is prepared to understand. Liam Ardent wakes up somewhere he should never be, a cold underground parking structure that feels abandoned yet recently used, like life only just stepped out of it seconds ago. His body feels normal, but the world around him does not belong to him anymore. His phone is alive with someone else's identity, someone named Sera Malkin, yet every app insists it is his device. At the same exact time, Sera wakes up inside Liam's apartment, staring at walls that feel borrowed rather than lived in, surrounded by objects arranged in a life she never built. There is no explanation, no warning, no transition between sleep and waking, only displacement. The terrifying realization begins to form slowly in both of them: sleep is no longer rest, it is movement, and every time they close their eyes, reality decides to place them somewhere else in the world without permission or logic. They try to fight it at first like anyone would. Liam refuses sleep completely, forcing himself to stay awake in bright public spaces, drinking anything with caffeine just to delay the inevitable collapse. Sera does the same, locking herself into unfamiliar routines inside Liam's apartment, tying alarms around her wrist, trying to outthink biology itself. But exhaustion is not something that can be negotiated with. Sleep comes anyway, quiet and absolute, and when it does, the swaps become worse. Liam wakes up in a library surrounded by people who don't notice his arrival, as if he has always been there, while Sera wakes up inside a moving delivery van heading toward places she did not choose. Each new location carries traces of another stranger's life, half-finished conversations, open doors, personal belongings left mid-action. Slowly, the truth becomes unavoidable: this is not random. There is structure behind it, patterns forming in the chaos, as if millions of sleeping minds are being rearranged like pieces on a board no one remembers agreeing to play on. Eventually, the chaos starts to show rhythm. Liam and Sera manage to find each other through fragments of digital traces that persist across swaps, messages that remain even when bodies do not. They begin documenting everything: locations, times, sensations, clues left behind by previous versions of themselves who woke up elsewhere and tried to warn them. That is when they notice something even more disturbing. Certain names repeat in their notes, especially one, Cato Rivera. He appears in different handwriting, different locations, different circumstances, but always connected to maps and patterns of movement. When they finally manage to contact him, his messages confirm what they fear most. This is not an accident. Sleep is functioning like a hidden network, transferring human consciousness between physical locations according to rules no one outside the system understands. And worse, the system seems to be learning from them. By the time they reach the next phase, they are no longer alone in confusion. Entire groups of strangers are experiencing the same phenomenon simultaneously, waking up in swapped environments and trying to piece together fractured identities. Liam finds himself in places where people already expect him, reacting as if he has always been part of their lives. Sera experiences the opposite, arriving in locations where her presence causes panic, as though she has replaced someone important who was just there seconds ago. Then Cato finally steps into their reality in person, not as a message but as a man who has been studying the system for longer than anyone else. He explains that sleep has become a transfer mechanism, rerouting human placement across the world in ways that resemble optimization rather than randomness. People are not just swapping places, they are being sorted. Cato takes them deeper into what he has discovered, showing maps filled with movement patterns that look less like chaos and more like design. Sleep, he claims, is no longer a biological necessity in isolation. It has been absorbed into something larger, something structured, something that uses unconsciousness as a trigger for relocation. Liam struggles to accept it, but every new swap reinforces the idea that reality itself is being edited while they rest. Sera begins to notice emotional patterns too, how certain locations trigger specific feelings that don't belong to her memories but still feel real. Cato warns them that they are becoming central points in the system, nodes where multiple paths converge more frequently than others. That means their movements are no longer accidental. They are important. And importance inside a system like this is never safe from this point forward. Sleep becomes something closer to surrender than rest. They try to stay awake for days, pushing their bodies past limits, but consciousness always collapses eventually. Each time it does, swaps become faster, sharper, more precise, as if the system is tightening its grip. Liam begins waking up in places that feel artificially constructed, environments that seem designed to observe him rather than host him. Sera experiences moments where time feels slightly misaligned, as if she arrives in places milliseconds after reality has already adjusted. Cato's messages grow more urgent, warning that the system is stabilizing. It is no longer exploring variations, it is converging toward a fixed structure. And they are being pulled toward its center whether they resist or not. The final convergence does not arrive like an event, it arrives like exhaustion itself becoming impossible to resist. Liam, Sera, Cato, and hundreds of others all wake up within a shared structure that feels like multiple realities stacked incorrectly on top of each other. Familiar places overlap, train stations fused with hospitals, apartments folded into corridors, streets looping into themselves like broken logic. Every person present has fragments of someone else's life in their memory, as if identity itself has been redistributed along with location. Cato explains one final truth before everything stabilizes: the system is finishing its calculation. Sleep is no longer transferring people randomly or testing patterns, it is assigning final positions. Liam asks what happens next, but there is no dramatic answer, only quiet inevitability. The system completes its work. And in the final moment, every mind is placed somewhere it is supposed to belong, even if nobody can remember how supposed to was ever defined.